All right, hello, Steve.
Hello, hello. You're right, mate.
I am. Thank you very much. So I'm talking to Steve Hurdle from Best Days Vintage, and in fact, you can tell us where you are, Steve, because that's a good starting point.
Yeah, of course. So I am in our warehouse, which is in Manningtree. This is Best Days Vintage HQ, the hub. So here we do we run our online business from here. We run our clothing processing, I guess you call it. So where we wash and clean the product, all the vintage clothes. And we also do our shooting here for the photography, our measuring, our loading, and also all of our customizing. So we have the two sewing machines, overlockers, etc., etc. But as obviously the lockdown thing, we're on a bit of a short staff at the moment. So there's only a few of us in.
Right, so you're locked down in your warehouse at the moment.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we've been really busy online. We've been working at, like, there's not many of us here, hardly any of us here, and we've been just getting by best we can. Because the whole social distancing thing, just trying to keep some space and just trying our best to kind of just get through as best we can, and we have been.
Well, we'll talk a little bit as well because you've been doing a little bit more than that because I know you've been doing a lot about social media and you've got a bigger mission
Yeah.
around mental health. But the reason that I thought I'd talk to you was we created the South Lanes project in Colchester last year, which you were very much part of, which was the idea of creating a sort of physical area in town, and then this year things have changed a bit and the lockdown happened, so we've transformed the South Lanes Facebook page into an online market. And in the last 3 weeks, I think 1,100 people have joined, and so we've created this market, originally really thinking about shops in mind, but it seems to be a number of shops have taken part with this whole army of businesses I didn't even know existed, of people, making things in their garage and in their sheds and all sorts of things, but really great businesses and products have kind of shown up. So, that's what we've been doing. That's why I'm talking to you. But I was interested, for people who don't know about what you're doing, just tell us a little bit about Best Days Vintage, and particularly now that you do have this bigger social mission that you seem to be really fulfilling on. It's not just one of those things you've said, just tell us a bit about that.
So we 2 years ago, Jez and I basically made the decision to try to do more with our lives and more of our business. Particularly me, I was frustrated with the idea that all we did as two mates and two best friends was talk about money. And so we really wanted to do more of it. And the option that we came up with was thinking about what was really important to us. And we realized, or actually Jez made me realize, that part of what we were already doing was creating an area and a place of community, but also a place where we were aiming to try and make people feel a bit better than when they came into the shop. Almost like a counselling service, we're not trained in the counselling, but it was that kind of idea where it was like we were listening post, like the old ways of the pub where the barman would be there polishing his glass and listening to the kind of customers. We really thought that was, and we realised that both of us realised that was a really important part of our life and our jobs. So yeah, we sat down together and we figured out and to try and focus in on that mission. So the idea was that basically any young person lost in a journey was one too many, was kind of like the theme, I guess, of our mission. And part of what we did was we tried to look at feel good, creating the idea of sustainable fashion, vintage, feel good prints, and positive well-being as being the three kind of like pillars for our business. And we kind of developed from there. And that led us on to changing the shop, creating a cafe in the shop, which we kind of called our safe space cafe, as an idea of a place, an opportunity for people to come and sit down, be listened to if they want to. And we created a bunch of key actions that we wanted to do within the business to open up lines of communication for young people to feel they could talk if they wanted to. So one of the things we try and do is we try to, everyone that comes in, we try and ask them how their day's been. Like a really simple thing to do, but a really great way to start a conversation piece. Most people just say, yeah, I'm fine. But if there's anyone that was struggling and finding not sure how to break subject, just by asking that question was enough sometimes for people to open up. And another action is anyone that came to sit down, we just come and sit down just for a couple of minutes or a minute, just start to say hi and just have a little chat. Simple as that. We just kind of feel like a lot of time young people deserve to be heard and understood. And the world we live in, sometimes it's not always like that.
Well, you say simple as that, but what I learned a lot by getting involved in what essentially a social transformation project, which is I got interested in that high streets seem to be. There's a lot of talk about high streets failing. I was seeing shops closing down. I was reading all the news, and but once I got involved in a project, I realised that was only half the story. That there's definitely a crisis in the big box retailers and the franchises in our high streets, which are essentially, however glamorous they are, they're boxes full of stuff hanging on things or things on shelves, and they have a crisis. But at the same time, what I started to see and realize was, not surprisingly, the things that are thriving are things that you can't get on the internet, which are service-based. So you see it with hairdressers and tattoo shops, vaping parlors and all that. They're doing really well. But to some extent, most of them were already there, and they've probably jumped on the opportunity. Where what you've done is taken a journey. You actually started as a shop that, as far as I could see when I first saw it, was a mini version of one of those boxes with lots of things hanging and on hangers and stuff. And now you've started to shift, and you've talked about the cafe, and you also, I know you put on bands, and there's a whole, it's a very different sort of proposition, and it's obviously a work in progress. So can tell us a little bit how you went on that journey and how you're doing with
it. I started this business in 2013 with Jez, and I spent a year writing a business plan, but really going to delve into this, I would say that my whole reason was like, wouldn't it be cool to have a vintage shop, our own business? Being a failed or ex-musician, it was like this was the natural progression for us to do something that we kind of felt like we were doing something in the community and something that we liked working with young people. And we'd already been working in this industry in London, so we're like, wouldn't it be cool to have a vintage shop? As the years went by, like the changes in society and the changes in retail and the high street are so evident, to me anyway. They're so evident that you have to adapt, or else you're done for. And being a small business without a huge cash flow and sort of customer base that we have, you have to keep things fresh all the time, and people are always looking for something new and something exciting to kind of talk about. And so I think we have to kind of keep things interesting and keep our messaging changing kind of regularly to kind of keep people interested in what we do. And mental health and positive well-being go hand in hand with young people anyway, but also the problems with social media and the internet and the changes in society, that I think that more than ever, you need places that you feel safe and you feel connected to.
And and it's first of all, it's wonderful to hear that, but more importantly, from my point of view, if I can sort of report this, it's exciting to experience it. To walk into your shops and seeing young people sitting together, playing cards, playing games, talking, drinking coffee, whatever. But it's easy to say these things, but there's this phrase, virtue signaling, which where a lot of businesses now they put out these messages that they're about this and about the other, but actually still they're really about selling their products. Whereas you've actually really, you put space aside and you put a lot of time and effort into it, which doesn't necessarily generate you a lot of money either. I mean, people sitting in your shop doesn't necessarily make you much money. They might buy a cup of coffee. So how do you manage that?
I wanted to be, these phrases you hear time and again. I do feel a bit pain sometimes, but I had to believe in this, because I can't look myself in the mirror, let alone anyone else in the mirror, if I feel like I'm just feeding everyone a bunch of old bullshit. I have to believe in what we're doing, and I had to live. And this business is a lifestyle for me. It's not just a job. It's a 7-day-a-week life, and I have to believe in this. What we are trying to achieve with our mission and our goal. And so, the phrase virtue signaling is very true, and you see it all the time. And yes, I also don't try to hide the fact that we are a business, we're a limited company, and we're about making money, because we have to make money to be able to afford to look after our families, look after the guys who work here, their families. We have to be able to pay our rent and our bills, so we need to make money. but there can also be more than that. There's more to it than that. And I've looked to play in, I look towards the long haul with this, like you say, the cafe doesn't really make us a lot of money, and it's probably not the best business decision in the world to have my front of my shop with all my window display area to be a little seating area. It isn't the best way to make money, but it is a really good way for me to be able to feel like I'm doing something of good to the community as well. And I hope that by showing these things that we are trying to be a good people and try to help the community, that people will feel good on us as well, and think if I am looking for something, I'm going to go into Best Days because they're cool guys and they're a good business and they're part of our community. Now, I hope that the two go hand in hand, that what you do positively also comes back sometimes as well when people are looking to spend their money.
Yeah, no, that's why I'm interested in doing this. It seems to me, I'm interested in this idea of the circular economy that I've only learned about in the last couple of years, which now I've heard about it makes sense, which is, you put money into a local business that employs a local person that uses local services. It keeps all the money local and it goes around in a circle, where if you buy something off Amazon, and I do, but when you do that, it shoots off somewhere else and you never see it again. And there's a strong possibility there won't be any taxes paid on that going to your local economy. So, it's a great model, but it obviously takes some sort of education, so I suppose, I don't know if I have a question, but I guess what can we do to educate people in because a lot of people still think about price. Yeah, this product is a price, rather than thinking to some extent what you're doing is supporting a business which will be there, so you can go and sit in it the next day and hang out. What's the messages we can put out there?
Funnily enough, I'm actually recording a video, a piece to camera about this for a mailing list. Why should I'm not sure what to call it yet, but basically it's like, why should I go to an independent business and not just go to a big fashion company, a big chain? And yeah, you talk about the circular economy, and I think that's a really important message to send out to people, is that there's more to it than just, can I save myself a few quid? Because there's like you say, it's like all the people that work for Best Days, for example, they're local people, they live in the area. The money that comes into this business automatically goes spent out on a coffee. We're going to get a coffee in the coffee shop next door, or we go for a beer in the pub next door, or we're ordering coffee from the local coffee place, or or we're buying our cups from a place in Colchester. It's all kind of like, it all goes around, comes around. And the idea is that the taxes you're paying and the business rates that you're paying are going back into the local council, which are then going into like improving the area in theory and paying for the local services which people are using. And so you need to kind of think about it in those terms, that in this day and age. And I ask myself now as well, in this situation that we're in with the lockdown, and you hear all these stories of small businesses in their community stepping up and doing something for their community, for the local hospital, or for the local, whatever it might be in the area. But you don't hear as much about the big businesses that are kind of like, that just going into that hibernation mode and that's it. And I like to think that that people might realise that these local businesses are really important to their communities. Also the economy, like we talk about. I was actually looking at some figures about it, and everyone's got statistics, but allegedly, where I was looking, on average, £70 of every 100 spent goes back into local businesses if you're spending in local shops.
Right.
That alone, I think, is an important kind of point to make, and the wages that I'm paying my guys, they're spending out in local shops, they're spending them out in the restaurants, in the bars. It all helps. We all help each other. That's what I like to think.
Well, great. I mean, so that says it beautifully, and obviously, posting this video, people will start to hear that. So, I know I could talk to you for hours, and I do sometimes when I come into your shop, but I want to keep this to about sort of 15-20 minutes. So we're coming to the end of our time. So what I like about you is you really do live and breathe your mission. And sometimes there's a sort of irony. I feel like I have to kind of ask you, you don't sell your product. So I'm going to ask you, at the moment, if someone did come into Best Days, or they went onto your website or whatever, what's 2 or 3 things that you're actually selling that's interesting at the moment? It's a bit different.
So we've had to, well, we haven't had to. We've really kind of like, due to this lockdown, the shop being closed, we've just completely changed our business model for the time being. And so we have been online, but now 100% of our focus is all about online and developing our own website. So in the last few weeks, we've really started pushing the SEO content of the website, the marketing of the website, the products have increased. So I would say in our three pillars is like sustainable vintage. So one of the things we've really pushed is all our rework items, which are really popular in the shop with the customers, with the students. We've now developed a section on the website for rework and sustainable vintage, unique pieces, and all customized. So it's all unique and really good for the environment, and something that fast fashion companies don't like to do that we can do. We push our Failed Rockstar Club, which is a new product line which goes with our podcast. So we launched a podcast off the back of our product, which talks about music, mental health, and positive well-being. And we have a product range that goes with that. And also we have another product range called the Yiffy, which stands for Y is for Youth. So literally is for young people, which is everything that we try and do is for young people. So those three product lines are the things that we're really passionate about at the moment. And then we have on ASOS, we have all of our vintage products that we're moving through ASOS. So we've been really, really busy.
Right, and I just want to say that I was hoping you might do a diffusion range called Y is for people who aren't that young, because I really like it. It looks to me to be a sort of almost like a 90s kind of streetwear kind of thing, sort of.
We based the Yiffy products all based on old 90s sportswear, and it's inspired by that, and it's inspired by streetwear, and it's inspired by young people. But for me, as far as I'm concerned, youth is not a number. Youth is just a state of mind. So my dad buys white Yiffy products.
Right. Well, I might get one of your hoodies then, because I really like the colours.
Good, mate. I buy one. I wear them. I was wearing one yesterday, I think, actually. Yeah, and so that's all based on streetwear and sportswear. And then the Failed Rockstar Club is all based on a bit more like suiting. And that's like a product that goes with the podcast. So the two together go hand in hand. And then the rework stuff is all about sustainability and reworking and recycling of materials. So they're the three areas of our website that we're really focusing on now, and also pushing our mailing list for the next year. And I think that, I know, I don't know if you want to go into this, but I really feel it's important for all the local business. If anyone's watching this that's in the local business, you got to use this as an opportunity to completely pivot your messaging and your marketing, and also your product and how you sell your products. We cannot get to customers how we used to. So you need to figure out different ways of doing it. So doing these interviews, we've done one on my website with you, Neil, as well, about mental health. We've done, like I said, the podcast. We've done YouTube channel stuff as well. Anything I can do to get out there on social media and using online methods, I will. And that's one of the really key things you have to do.
Well, thanks, Steve. I think we'll leave it there. That's great. And so let's just leave people with one thing. If they can now, if you've seen this, you've heard it, you've been interested in it, how can they find the podcast?
If you go into any podcast provider, it's Failed Rockstar Club. You can search. You can go into our social media, Best Days Vintage, or bestdaysvintage.co.uk.
Fantastic. All right. Well, thanks a lot for speaking to me, Steve.
No worries, mate. Thank you.